one of us is not a normal host of this podcast. Let's see who it is. Kaden first.
See, I told you, I'm not one of those things. Now let me out of this stupid chair.
Alright, now Bailey.
They're not one either. Alright.
And now for a special guest star, Mr. McGregor.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, it's me, McGregor.
Welcome to another Halloween episode of the Hyperfixnation podcast with your hosts, McKenna, Bailey, and of course me, Kaden. Now, let's get into the show, shall we? Welcome back to the next episode of Kaden's Spooky Horror Month, the month that changes names every time I say it. Today, we have a special guest with us here. Returning, we have Mr. McGregor. Ta-da!
It's me.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Welcome
Very
back.
glad to have you back.
Welcome.
I am so glad to be here. I loved it last time, and I am excited for this one. Really excited.
It might be weird for me to say that I have a favorite episode of my own podcast, but honestly, I think the There Will Be Blood episode is my favorite episode we've done. Because, good insight from our guest. But,
we'll see if I can do it justice for this one, too. Because I've only seen it just literally... I finished the movie not 10 minutes ago, so...
Hey, that'll be
It's very fresh.
Right, very fresh in the mind, yeah. Sorry it was so short.
Yeah, and I've never seen it before.
Really? Never seen it?
Yeah, no, it's the first. Never, yeah, so this will be fun.
All right. Well, I wanted to start off with, has anyone watched anything interesting they'd like to talk about from this week? Any good movies or shows, perhaps?
Ooh, the She-Hulk finale came out.
That's
which
true.
I'm not a big fan of.
I liked it a
TV
little.
Shows. But I enjoyed this one, and the last episode went full on meta. It was insane.
Yeah.
I was losing my mind throughout it.
What's funny to me about She-Hulk is I have not watched a single full episode, but I've watched all of the important clips. All the funny jokes, every second of Daredevil. I've seen all that.
I'll just tell you what happens.
Yeah.
She goes out of her own show to go and talk to Kevin of Marvel Studios
Kevin Feige,
about how she's
as a
not happy
robot.
with her own show. And it was...
I like how it was
crazy.
making fun of how bad Marvel TV show finales are.
Yeah, it was.
It was so weird.
But yeah,
I haven't watched any of She-Hulk, so this is all news to me.
Yeah,
Though I
It's
did hear
interesting.
that she has a fourth wall break in the comics. That's the thing the She-Hulk has done since forever, apparently. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah,
And Daredevil's back, and he's really good.
Daredevil.
Because Daredevil's the best.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just waiting for a we're just waiting for a Daredevil movie soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, the show is announced. They're doing another
Yes.
show for him on Disney Plus.
Oh.
So, yeah,
Okay,
not 6 episodes, so maybe it'll be good. But yes. Last night I tried to watch a movie. I tried to watch Dracula. I did indeed fall asleep though, so I didn't finish it. But it was good from what I watched, I guess. It was a little slow, a little boring for a 1 hour
The old
movie.
one?
Yeah,
Bela
the
Lugosi?
original. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was great. Dracula was great, but
Very nice.
I probably should have finished it before talking about it. Yeah.
I feel a lot of the original Universal monsters are a bit slower paced than most modern horror movies.
Yeah. Which is funny because they're an hour, so an hour of slow paced. It could have been a 30-minute special, you know.
Yeah, all those older films are slow paced, and then they focus on little details, and you're like, why are you focusing on this scene for so long? Can we move on?
Yeah.
Here's a challenge for all of you, and maybe the listener too, because I'm guessing you have Spooktober all planned out, Kaden.
Yeah, I do.
So this is bonus challenge homework.
Yeah, I've given some people homework. Yeah.
Watch the original Frankenstein, and then watch Young Frankenstein right after it.
Ooh.
Okay.
Because Young Frankenstein is actually a sequel straight up to Frankenstein, the original. Yeah.
Nice.
Most people
interesting.
know that. I being one of them, because I grew up on Young Frankenstein, but I'd never seen Frankenstein, the original, which, by the way, is not nearly as good as the book, but still good because it's like Hyde, right? It informed American cinema. Yeah, it's amazing.
True.
And then Young Frankenstein is just so fun to finish after.
Yeah, I've not seen either of those movies or read the book, so I'll have to do that because I was
It's
going to
classic
watch
for a reason.
Frankenstein soon. Yeah.
Mary Shelley,
Because-
queen of science fiction and goths.
Yeah.
You're telling me that you weren't forced in high school to read Frankenstein?
I definitely was.
I was not. Nope.
Ugh, I was.
Well,
Weren't
now
you guys
can
in,
enjoy it.
Weren't you two in like the smarter classes in high school? So like, because I'm pretty sure we were on different levels of English.
Maybe
Because I was in
this is
regular English, and I think you guys were in elevated English, so I didn't read Frankenstein. But
I don't remember.
Yeah, Frankenstein's on my list though. I've been trying to make it through all the Universal monster movies before we're all going to Universal soon, and there's some Universal monster stuff there, so just trying to familiarize myself.
I mean, for the record, that Frankenstein movie is the one that made Frankenstein why you think Frankenstein is who he is. Like,
That's
Frankenstein
true.
being
Big
brought
guy,
to life
big head,
with electricity is from that movie. In the book, Mary Shelley just says, and I figured out how to reanimate flesh, so I did it.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And now he's alive. Yeah.
And he's
now
also
alive.
not like a really big hulking monster, is he?
No. Well,
He's
not
just
as far as I remember.
he's just
it's been a
kind of
while
like
since I've read it.
weird and disfigured.
And very
he's
smart.
taken
He
from
needs,
dead bodies. Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He's smart, which is the funniest thing, because like all of them, the new ones are just monster.
I saw a cool video where they have a Frankenstein's monster walk around character at Universal, and someone there was a little kid that was going up and meeting him, and he went over to the flower bed and got a flower and gave it to the kid. I was like, that's cool.
That's
that's cute.
It's a good
Very
character
nice,
acting
very
moment.
nice.
I have not watched any movies in between the last episode and this one other than, our topic movie, but I did start a TV show that started this week. Chainsaw Man started. Me and Bailey.
What?
Bailey got me into this. It's a show called Chainsaw Man. I'm going to give my
Um,
description because Bailey would give a very long synopsis, but
True.
it's an anime about a guy who finds this
Anime.
devil dog. Yeah, it's a little so he fights devils, but he does that with the help of this little dog that is a chainsaw, right? But then he dies, and the chainsaw dog is like, hey, I'm going to fuse into you so you can stay alive. So the guy becomes a chainsaw devil. So when he wants to, he pulls a ripcord on himself, and his hands turn into chainsaws, and his head turns into a chainsaw, and he fights devils.
It's
and
so
it
cool.
sounds weird.
It's
But it's
really
awesome.
good. It's really good.
It's so
Have you watched it, McGregor?
I haven't watched it. Well, I mean,
But-
when it comes out eventually, I will. Or is it out?
Yeah.
It
So
is.
the first
Okay,
episode is
I'm
out in Japanese.
I have read. I'm caught up on the manga actually. So.
I did not expect that. I didn't
How could
expect
you
that at
not?
all.
I'm
This
actually.
is like
I
an
should've.
immediate class.
Yay!
Yeah, I mean, I should have known you like Dragon Ball and Evangelion and stuff.
Mr.
But
McGregor,
fact-
I'm fully caught up too.
yeah,
Let me recommend.
I don't read, so I've only watched the show. It comes out in English
If you
later, but it's in Japanese right now.
right. Well, I
gotta
mean,
see
there's
this
the
guy.
little translations that happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's subbed. I was gonna wait till the dub because I don't like to read my TV shows, but I was so excited for it, I couldn't wait, so I just watched it subbed, and it's really good. I'm probably just gonna watch the first episode again tonight because it's that good.
It's so good.
Well, so let me give you a couple little things. If you like Tatsuki Fujimoto, that's his name, the guy who writes
Yeah.
it, and he's amazing, like incredible. Go read Fire Punch.
Okay, that
That's
sounds
true.
funny.
Go read that. It's amazing. It's not funny
It's
at
so
all. It's
weird.
horrific.
It's so
and it's
weird.
amazing.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. It's like it's really great. And then he has a bunch of one shots that he made too, like
The one-shots
single
are so
little
good.
stories. And they're
yeah.
so good. Yeah, there's one about well, I mean, I can't tell you too much. It's better just to sit down and
Yeah.
read them. But they're
I
called
almost want-
Goodbye Airy. And the other one, I can't remember what it's called. But it's
Look
about
Back.
a guy
It's
who
called
makes
Look
videos.
Back.
Oh, Look Back. That's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
good. Both of those. Goodbye Airy
All right.
and Look Back.
So good.
Read them both. They're amazing.
I almost want to have you watch the theme song for Chainsaw Man right now because
Yeah.
it's all movie references.
It's all movie
Like,
references.
Really?
Texas Chainsaw,
to some of
different
my
Quentin
favorites, like
Tarantinos.
Big Lebowski is referenced. It's a
And-
couple Tarantinos.
And
Yeah.
you'll know this.
I'm gonna
'cause
watch it.
You'll know this
Yeah.
because it very much plays into the theme of Chainsaw Man later
Uh-huh.
with movies, especially. Definitely recommend the anime.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you want me to watch it?
What-
You want me to watch it live?
Honestly, yeah, I don't see why not. I want to hear your
All right.
reaction, see if you can get all
All
the
right, here we go.
references.
I'm watching it.
You
Here
know,
we go.
wait, I'm gonna.
I'm
also
gonna watch the show. I still think that One Punch Man has the best intro of all time.
I think it's Evangelion, but that's debatable. Or no, I mean Cowboy Bebop might be better.
Evangelion's maybe the most iconic.
Yeah. I mean, Evangelion is referenced in this for a second, but
This is a cool intro. This is super cool.
yeah, it's great.
Wow. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah, I'm definitely not like a big anime person, but this one got me immediately. I mean, I'm like a little bit of one, Evangelion and Cowboy Bebop and Dragon Ball, but
You
this
appreciate
one,
good anime.
I do.
Yeah.
And this one is like
Yes, you should.
yeah. I need to watch One Punch Man because my dad is actually a huge fan of One Punch Man.
Absolutely,
Like, he
you
just
do.
randomly
That's-
watched it one day and was like, "This show's great." Like, he loves it.
It's incredible. Yeah.
That's I've been waiting to talk about that one since I watched
The-
it. New episodes
it's
every
very good.
new episodes every Tuesday. So watch the new episode of Chainsaw Man and then come listen to the podcast every Tuesday. But yeah, is there anything else that anyone watched this week?
I did
Do you
watch a
have
few
anything?
things. Yes.
Go ahead, Bailey.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I watched basically all of the classic horror movies, like not the classic ones, like, the Universal monsters, but I watched Nightmare on Elm Street, I watched Hellraiser, I watched, what other ones did I watch? I watched Halloween, did not watch Friday the 13th, but I watched most of the classic ones, and I really like them.
So you watched a bunch of John Carpenter films.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Halloween.
And since we had to pre-record next week's episode,
and
you
Scream.
watched two
Yeah.
different Clive Barker movies. Yeah.
True. I did watch Scream as
You
well.
watched them from like all the greats. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, which one of those was your favorite? I gotta ask.
My favorite... So last year, I'd say my favorite one watching was Nightmare on Elm Street. But this year, I think it actually changed. I think this year, my favorite one is actually Scream.
Oh, Scream's really good.
Yes, let's go. That's
Yeah.
the best slasher. I love it.
It's really
Yeah.
good.
Remember, I forced you to watch it. And
Yeah,
you
yeah,
liked
I
it,
remember.
So, I'm proud of that one. I think we talk about it in a other episode, but yeah.
Probably.
Those are good ones. Nightmare is one of my all-time favorites. So, did you have anything you watched, McGregor?
I did. I watched Hocus Pocus 2.
Ooh.
Oh,
Hocus
how was
Pocus
that?
2.
Yeah, it was very fun. It was kind of stupid in like the best way. I mean, like I really liked it.
Really?
Because okay, so here's my history, I guess, with that is that I didn't watch Hocus Pocus until I was an adult. I was like 25 the first time I saw it, and so I was hanging out with my
I've
friends.
still never
and it was
seen
like
it,
Halloween.
so-
Yeah, so I was hanging out with my friends and I was watching. It was Halloween. They were like, "Let's watch Hocus Pocus," because we watch it every Halloween. And we watched it since I was like 4 years old. And I was like, "Oh, that's cool. I've never seen it." And they're like, "What?"
Yeah.
So we watched
Yeah.
it, and I was like, "Wow, there's a lot of weird sexual innuendo and references." And did that
Yeah.
small child just call her boobs yabos? That's weird. And
All right, that's funny. That's worth watching.
It's
That's
a very
pretty funny.
fun movie. Watch the movie, you'll enjoy it. It's a little weird. It's very 80s. And frankly, I think I like the sequel better. Just
Really?
Really?
because just because it's kind of the weirdness of the 80s culture, like yeah, it's weird. I'm not speaking clearly
Yeah.
right now, but basically I like the
All
movie
good.
because
All
it's
good.
very fun. All three witches just are killing it the whole time,
Yeah.
and everyone's
true.
having so much fun. Yeah, it's really
I was
good. Really
was
like it.
Yeah.
debating on whether to watch that or not, but now you kind of sold me.
Yeah, I'll be watching it too.
Do it. It's fun. It's very fun. Like,
Yeah.
don't go in thinking like this is going to be a cinematic No, it's stupid and fun.
Of
Enjoy
course.
it.
It's
Yeah.
silly.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good genre of silly Halloween, which like there's definitely a lot of silly movies to watch around this time.
Yeah,
Like,
and I wish we
Yeah.
watched some
Go.
of them for this podcast, Kaden.
well, I'm sorry. I went with really good ones. I mean, we
They're
talk
all
about like
gory.
yeah, but they're good.
They
With
are
our
good.
weekly recommendations
I
this week, we
got
could
it.
we could do a few of the more goofy type of Halloween stuff.
Yeah. Because like I could just recommend Killer Clowns from Outer Space because I think that movie's silly. That's a goofy one.
that's fair.
McKenna, be
Mhm.
careful. That one does have a bit of cartoon gore, but you know.
Can't handle it.
Yeah.
my favorite
you know,
video
yeah.
game series being Resident Evil.
Yeah, right? You know what? I don't know if we're ready to jump into weekly recommendations, but you know what? I hadn't really thought about it. I'll recommend Killer Clowns from Outer Space. It's another horror movie. It's the extra homework, but the theme song is probably the best, like, horror main theme made for a movie. It goes
fun.
hard, and you can't really deny it. It's good.
Even
The movie
better
is
than the Halloween theme.
Ooh.
Because that one's iconic.
Which one would I rather listen to? I'd rather listen to Killer Clowns because it's basically a rock
I'll
song.
give it a listen.
Like, that's my weekly recommendation. You guys have any weekly recommendations?
I have one.
Frankenstein, and then Young Frankenstein.
Frankenstein.
All right.
Frankenstein and
I
Young
have one.
Frankenstein.
I'll watch those.
Of course, Chainsaw Man's good, but I'm gonna actually recommend a different animated TV show, and that is a Disney TV show airing right now, sort of, called The Owl House.
The Owl
Nice.
House once again for Bailey. Why do you? Okay, my roommates actually like it a lot. What's like the one main appeal of it?
Okay,
It's like Gravity Falls, but again.
Hold on 1 second.
Talk about it.
The Owl House, it's made by a lot of the same crew members who did make Gravity Falls. So it has a lot of the similar feels, where it's kind of like a very fun cartoon, just regular, but then it dives into little bits of horror and stuff every so often, which is very interesting. Yeah. And plus, the characters are just very likable, very fun. The theme song is very good as well. But yeah, it's just a very good show. If you like Gravity Falls, I would definitely recommend it.
My recommendation is also a TV show. It's kind of spooky.
Is it?
It's Invader Zim.
I knew
obsessed
it. I knew that was coming.
lately. I love that
Oh
TV
man,
show.
there's a flashback for me. Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's a good one, yeah.
That
I
was
love
like
Invader
when I
Zim.
was in junior high, that was all the rage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my
that makes
uncle
sense,
introduced it to me and loved it ever since.
It's a fun one.
Yeah.
A great show from the early Hot Topic era, as I like to call it.
That's right.
Era
That's
of
exactly
the
right. Yeah.
2000s. So here's the thing. Our main discussion today. I've been waiting to do that since I planned this episode. But yeah, so we're going to jump into the discussion of our movie for this week, which is John Carpenter's, I dare to say, masterpiece, The Thing. This movie's really good.
It is.
I say that with like every movie where I do the little "it's really good" and chuckle, but this one is actually like really good.
This one, I think this one's one of the
solid.
best ones we've seen on the podcast so far.
I'd say so. I think this is up there with like Prisoners, which I think was the previous
Come
best
on.
movie we've watched.
This is up there with like Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah, Jurassic Park. I forgot
yeah.
we did a Jurassic Park episode. Sorry.
But not There Will Be Blood.
Prisoners.
Oh, that one
And There Will
too.
Be
But this
Blood.
one,
Okay.
yeah, it's definitely like we have a varying range. We have our
That's true.
Right.
our There Will Be Bloods and our Power Rangers 2017.
No, I agree. I think this is a capital F film. This is
Oh,
This is a
absolutely.
great
Oh,
film.
for sure.
This is one that's on. I have one of those scratch off
Is
100
it?
best movies of all time posters. It's on
Right.
there, McKenna. Yeah,
I think
McKenna has the
someone's
same
about
poster.
to go do it, yeah.
She's gonna go scratch it off. Yeah, it's on
Scratch
there.
Oh,
it.
yeah. I'll do,
Do
it later.
it.
Yeah.
I'll do it later.
There Will
Do
Be
it
Blood is
now.
also on there. I don't know if you've scratched that off yet.
Oh, I gotta catch up. I
Yeah,
gotta
you
look
do.
at them and be like, which ones
You're
have
behind.
I watched recently?
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to do it based on what I've watched recently.
Yeah.
Like Star Wars is
Yeah.
on there. I've seen Star Wars, but I haven't seen it recently.
Yeah, I did that, but only for Indiana Jones because I haven't watched that in forever. But anyways, back to The Thing. So I want to start by asking, what is your guys' favorite scene or even just favorite shot in this
Ooh,
movie?
Favorite scene or favorite shot?
Wow.
Because I can start. My favorite shot is when they go to check on Wilford Brimley, and he's just sitting there, and he's like, "I want to be let out, please," or he's like, "I don't want to
He's
be
eating
here
beans.
anymore," and he's eating beans, and there's just like the noose in frame. It's so morbid, but it gets a chuckle out of me because it is so morbid,
comedy, yeah.
and it's Wilford. I remember watching this movie. I watched it for the first time with my dad, and it's funny. Even my dad loves this movie because he was like, "That was really good." Usually the movies you want to watch with me are just okay, but that one was like really good. Like, he texted me about it a couple days later. Like, I'm still thinking about it. And that was both of ours. We laughed very hard at the Wilford Brimley news scene.
I didn't even notice the news. That's funny.
Yeah.
We should probably explain what this movie
Yes.
is
Oh,
about.
yeah.
Give a
Synopsis.
synopsis.
Among Us.
No.
Everyone's made
Listen
the
up,
joke,
gamers.
but yeah, it's
Listen up.
Hello,
If
gamers.
you like Among Us, but you
Among
don't
Us.
know where it came from, go watch this movie.
Yeah, they basically
This
they
movie,
ripped this
yeah.
whole movie. Yeah.
That's a note that I wrote down. Feels like Among Us. When did I write it? I wrote it during. Oh, when did I write it down? Feels like Among Us. Hold on. I wrote down that Kurt Russell is a very attractive man, like 3 different
He
times.
is.
Yeah.
Fair.
He is.
Very fair.
He's-
So when did I
Like,
write down Among Us?
This is definitely his best movie. I kind of watched Sky High earlier this morning. He was pretty good.
I mean,
in it.
but Big Trouble in Little Chinatown, though.
yeah,
I need to
haven't
see
seen
that
that,
one.
but he's really good at this. Did you know this movie got like awful reviews?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I
people
heard
hated
about
it when it
that.
came
Yeah.
out.
Who knows why?
But
Well, because it
then
was the
everyone changed
80s
their mind.
and everyone was stupid and didn't know what a good movie was.
That's fair.
True. Yeah.
Well, they
Like, we
okay,
want
they
big
kind of figured
action.
it out, sort of.
There's a lot of very good 80s movies, but this is also. I think this was 74. I can't remember when this was. Let me
Really?
look real fast.
I thought it was
I
like
know-
the
I know
early
it-
80s.
I thought it was, and I know it's after Halloween.
Oh, it's 82. I think
Yeah,
I'm
I thought so.
still thinking of Texas Chainsaw from last week, which is
something
72.
kind of funny is that in Halloween, which John Carpenter made before this, there's a scene where his characters are watching the original The Thing, like the one from like the 30s, 40s, which is really
Oh,
funny
right.
because then he just went and made a new version of it, basically in like the 80s.
That is pretty funny.
That's
yeah.
amazing.
One of the best. Yeah. Oh, I wrote. It feels like Among Us when they're at the fridge with the blood and they're all yelling at each other.
Yeah.
That's when I wrote it.
That's
Very emergency meeting moment.
Yep.
Yeah,
No.
Exactly.
It's yeah, it definitely.
But we
does.
should
Like, they
synopsis.
definitely. Yes, synopsis. Okay, I can give it since I picked the movie, or if anyone else wants to give the synopsis, you can.
Go ahead,
I mean,
Kaden.
I just watched it for the first time.
I mean, yeah, honestly,
yeah, go
if
ahead.
you'd like to, go right ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Stop me if I get anything wrong.
Okay.
Okay.
There's the opening title, and we see a spaceship.
Yes,
Then we hard
spaceship.
cut to. Well, I can't remember.
What
Then
is
maybe
it?
it's the opening credits after that. But then we go to a dog running through the snow, and you're like, okay,
Yes.
cool, nice transition, good. And then there's some guy shooting at the dog, and you're like, oh no.
Don't kill a
This is
dog in
not
your first
concerning
minutes.
in the
That's like
slightest.
that should be like a rule of cinema: is don't kill the dog in the first couple minutes.
Yeah, well, and thankfully he's like the worst shot of all time. You know, like
Yeah.
he
'Cause he's
shoots like
Norwegian.
how many times? Never. That's why. That's exactly why. Yeah, and then he's shooting the dog, and then the dog rolls up to Outpost 31, the American base in Antarctica, and all the guys there pop out, and they're like, "What's this? A dog?" Oh. And then the Norwegian guy is shooting at them from a distance because the plane lands and then explodes because bombs or something. I think one of them threw a
Yeah.
grenade but dropped it by accident. Anyway,
Something
the point
like that,
is,
yeah.
Norwegian guy is yelling at them in Norwegian while the dog is licking all of them. And you're like,
Or at least
there must be something
trying
crazy
to.
about this dog.
Yeah.
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 And then he starts shooting at the dog, and he shoots one of the guys, that's one of the Americans, in the leg. And so then the guy from inside, he's got a revolver, and a crack shot, much better than the Norwegian, shoots him right in the eyeball. Norwegian goes down. And they're all like, what the heck? So then they head out to the Norwegian base to figure out what's up with that. The dog hangs out with everyone else, and they go to the Norwegian base, and shenanigans, horrific shenanigans ensue.
Yeah. It's like completely.
That's a
flipped
no
over and stuff,
spoilers
yeah.
synopsis.
Oh.
Oh yeah, that's right. Honestly, if you have not watched this movie, please go watch it. Like a lot of
click off
these, you
right
can just
now.
kind of, yeah, like
Click off
pause
right now.
this,
Go watch it.
Like, you go watch it because this is.
If you're driving, stop everything and just watch it.
Actually,
up.
in fact, if you're driving, just keep driving and watch it. But yeah, sorry if I spoiled it a little bit ago. I probably I was just very excited to talk about the movie. I jumped into it too fast. But now we're getting into spoilers. So again, if you
Spoilers
have
now,
not
from
watched
here
it,
on out.
please watch it. One of
And
my
even if
favorite
you
things in this
haven't,
movie.
and you're like, I can't do that, just go watch it. Just do
yeah,
it.
go watch it.
It's
Just
the
watch it.
80s. It's practical.
And even
effects.
after we talk about it,
Oh
if you
my
cheated,
god, yeah.
go watch it anyway. Watch it even though we're
Yeah,
gonna talk about it.
exactly. We're gonna make it sound so good that you'll have to go watch it.
True.
That's right.
But
Kind of going back
so-
to the favorite scenes. I definitely
yes, back to
have
favorite
one.
scenes. Sorry about that.
I have one.
I mean, we
and
can
that's-
continue the synopsis later, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Because I think
Uh,
the timeline of this film, having only just watched it, I have no idea when the things happen that happen to
Oh,
people. Like
You're not supposed to. That's the whole thing.
I know, and
That's what's
yeah,
great
that was
about
evident
it.
by
Yeah.
the
That's
end. Because people
that's
were
the
getting busted
thing.
that I did not expect. Right. So
Mhm.
I want to go through it and see if I can even get close to what actually happened. But at any rate,
Yeah.
favorite moments.
So my
moments.
favorite scene is the CPR scene where
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm glad
That-
everyone knows
that-
where they stick
Yeah.
it where like
There's a
boom,
jump scare.
and then boom and then opens up and he just like turns into this like
Yeah.
whole.
Rips his
Oh,
That's a
my
jump
hands
scare
off.
done right.
It's
Yeah.
so good.
That scene is one of the few like movie scenes ever to actually like startle me and go like, oh, what just happened? Like,
Yeah, and then
made me
it,
like jump back
and
in
then
my
it
seat.
and then it
was-
goes right into the full body horror, and it's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
turns into
good.
a little like head spider and yeah.
Actually,
Yeah, because we had a
that's-
taste of it earlier, but it wasn't. No, it's not the full body horror.
Yeah, we got the dogs and yeah.
It's just a
Oh, the
taste.
dogs.
That's one of my favorite scenes is when the guy's head like slumps off the table and then
Oh.
his head grows little legs and
The little
antennas.
legs.
I love
Oh.
that scene because my dad and I laugh every single time. Like,
It's-
where does it go?
It is a little funny.
It's funny, but it's like creepy at the same time, which is good. Something
Yeah.
fun. I do know a little bit about how they did all of the little stretches and stuff. They did it with like gum and taffy, basically, and they got it all together and they just
Chew up the gum? Like,
it's
Yeah, the practical
the way
effects
that entire scene is
in
so
this
good.
movie
yeah.
were
This is like
incredible.
a master class in practical effects.
For
Like,
sure. I have to
it's
say
like
this
there's like no CGI. And it's
this movie
insane.
has got to have, I think, the best practical effects I've ever seen.
Yeah, I'm
I
thinking
even
back
made that
and there's
note.
not much.
When they first
but-
went to the Norwegian base and there's the guy with the razor in his hand who slits his own throat,
Oh,
oh yeah.
I wrote the note. I knew the practical effects were celebrated in this film, but the dead body with the slit throat just confirms
and
how
then they
good-
only
yeah.
get better. They only get better.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then they get better.
It only.
Oh, it oozes
Yeah.
all
Yeah,
over.
amazing.
Ugh.
Oh, ah.
Oh man. So McGregor, did you have a favorite scene, or did you already say your favorite scene?
Favorite scene? No, I haven't yet. I was
Oh,
trying
you
to.
haven't yet,
I
yeah.
mean, it's all so fresh.
Trying to decide
One that jumped out to me is how good the dog actor was.
Yeah.
the
dog
dogs were very good boys.
Like when he walks menacingly through the hallway to get his first victim. How could you get a dog to act menacing? That's amazing. That was
Yeah.
incredible. Loved it.
I guess pay the
But,
dog good or
um,
something.
It's a paid actor, yeah.
Yeah.
The
I love
the
how in that
scene-
specific shot, yeah, when the dog's going through the hallway, you don't
Yeah.
know who he gets, and they never
No,
tell you.
true.
Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
watched. There's a YouTube video I'd recommend if you're confused, McGregor or anyone out there. There's one on YouTube where a guy kind of breaks down what order he thinks it went in, like who got infected where and how that all happened, and it's pretty good. Or you could just kind of leave it a mystery still, you know? Also fun.
Mysteries are fun.
True.
The other scene, I mean, how could I feel like this must be a lot of people's favorite scene, but where they're testing the blood, like just really
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
very
for
fun.
sure.
It's
Another-
really good, really
Another
suspenseful.
another scene where there's an amazing jump scare
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
of the blood.
Oh.
Yes.
and then immediately amazing practical effects.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like-
he's shaking, his face bubbles.
Where
Yeah,
he
really
looks
crazy.
like the guy from
And like the eyes pop out
Raiders of the
basically.
Lost Ark.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'd say
Oh,
one of those
man.
two. Maybe the
Those are
the
good
shot
choices.
where the dog walks through the hall, and then the scene where they're testing the blood. There we go.
That's
Yeah,
a good
those
one.
are both really good.
I say another great
Oh, yeah.
scene is the very end where both
I
of
was
them
actually
are
just
just
about
like
to say
Yeah.
the very end.
both of them are just like, well, let's just see what happens.
The
And
little
they'll
the
just sit
little
there.
monologue basically where he's like, I don't know if we should live. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's so
The
good.
goat Keith David. Never been
Keith
bad in anything he's in.
David.
Yeah, I was gonna say because like my first one was kind of a joke. I mean, I do love that shot, but really, I love the ending and how it's so ambiguous. How we just don't know. We don't know
Yeah,
if they
fade to
live.
black.
We don't
Well-
know if either of them are a thing. There
I'm
is
gonna tell
theories
you
that
something.
because he has less like you can't see his breath as well, that Keith David is a thing. But
I'm gonna
We'll
tell
never
you
know.
something,
what's
and
that, McKenna?
it's gonna make you mad. But
Uh-oh.
there was a 2002 video game that was a sequel to this
No,
movie.
really?
What?
Oh.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
And it's
That's
the
awful.
best game ever made, surprisingly.
Oh.
I mean, you could consider it canon or non-canon or whatever, but
Yeah.
in the end, he survives, the main guy. Mick,
McCready.
Mick, whatever. Yeah.
McCready,
If we
He
take the video
survives.
game as canon,
yeah,
That's true.
I guess.
I don't, I guess, because I just found out about it.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else like, do you guys have anything, like, any questions, anything you want to talk about with the thing?
Like the coloring in this film.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
sound like Bailey here, because Bailey always talks about loving, like, colors and the way they look in films. But the colors of this
pretty.
film with the pink flares and the blue Arctic around,
Yeah.
is so
Mm.
pretty.
It's so good.
It's all great. And, like, how
But-
dingy and blue the Norwegian base scenes are.
Yeah.
Like, when he's there, when he goes out and finds, like, the excavated bits, like, the way that looks is so good.
For sure.
God, there's just... And another really good thing is the sound design. I think a lot of the sound design is really good.
Yeah, for
Like-
sure.
the musical
One of the-
motifs.
one of the
Ennio Morricone. I had no idea the music was Ennio Morricone. Amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
You
one
may
of
have
my-
heard of
like,
a little
another-
film called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
now
Very
rings
nice.
a bell. Yep,
Yep,
Um,
same guy.
Very nice.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like the sound that the thing
The
makes
things,
anytime
The
it's
like
revealed.
screams.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
when they're outside and there's like the one guy who like turns and his hand gets all big and he looks up and like,
Oh, yeah.
great.
The salad
there
fingers
are-
moment.
Yep, salad fingers. That's a very good description of it because he does have the salad fingers.
Great. Now
He
I
sure
want to
does.
think about that every time I watch that scene.
Yep. Now I am too. But yeah, like it's all and every creature design is like genuinely pretty scary.
Yeah, actually,
Like,
I kind of want to ask which creature, like which version of the thing do you guys think is the scariest? Because we have
the scary.
the dog, we have the CPR guy, we have the
Spider
blood.
head.
We have the blood scene. Yeah, there's the spider head. Plus, there's the burnt one at the very at the
Yeah, that's
Norwegian,
Right, the split burn guy.
and then there's the one at the end as well.
That's really hard. I really like a lot of them.
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, let me preface with this. While you think. The thought that I had when we were in the dog kennel and the dog turns into the alien or the thing for the first time
yeah.
is, for some reason, I had flashbacks to the movie Alien, which is an incredible movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I've seen a lot of people say it's a good companion piece to this movie.
oh, it's great. They're very similar and very different at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah.
But the problem that I have often with Alien is that it's just very clearly a guy in a suit.
Mm-hmm.
And they do a good job of not showing it too much to keep the suspense. It's kind of the Jaws effect. But then there's like
The
a
Jaws
couple.
or the
The
Nope
one in
effect, yeah.
particular that I think of is there's a scene in the movie where there's a guy going through the vents trying to find the alien, and then it has this
Mm-hmm.
moment where like the camera turns around to show the alien right before he gets got, and the alien like does jazz hands at the camera and like fake jumps out at it, and it's
Yeah.
very silly looking. And the thought that I couldn't shake was okay, this is an alien. This is not a Star Trek rubber forehead alien. Like, whoever thought of the design of this extraterrestrial creature, like, actually went out of their way to come up with something that was
for
not human.
sure.
Not even close
Yeah.
to human. Horrifying. Yeah, really
Oh yeah.
fun.
And yet-
loved
when
it.
when you first see the dog, it's such a turning point too, because that's the first time you like kind of
Right.
see how like grotesque this can get,
And
it's
yet-
like to really be like, oh,
And-
this
Yeah.
is much more
It's
serious
so-
than I thought. Yeah.
when
so good.
when it opens up and the dog
Yeah, it's got like
falls
the
out.
Demogorgon
and
kind
I'm
of
like,
looking.
Yeah.
The freaking little yellow tentacles that come out. Ugh.
And like the
And then
little,
it
the
sprays
little, like,
the
Twizzler
juice.
bits.
Yeah.
Oh, it sprays
Poor
the juice.
dog.
Oh.
And it like
That
melts.
Yeah, it might be the dog.
It like
honestly,
melts
like,
the
dog,
dogs. It like
Yeah.
melts the other
Oh.
ones. It's so gross.
Yeah, I was
but
thinking-
It's really good.
I was like, this is horrific. And then it started spraying, and I was like, oh no. Oh no.
oh,
This is.
no.
I
gets a
couldn't even
lot
comprehend
worse.
how horrific.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then,
like,
and then when
oh.
Carter goes in there to check on the dogs, and the one dog who's like, all mutilated in the back, and then
Yes.
the grayish green
sad.
dog. It's not even part of the mask, but just seeing that poor dog over there whimpering, you're
It's
like,
so
oh,
sad.
Yeah.
Very.
That's one way to get some emotion in your movie is to kill a dog, and then you're like, all right, now this is serious. How are we going to solve this problem? With any movie that kills a dog, you're like, okay, that's too far. Like Terminator 2, John Wick, like
It's so sad.
others. But yeah. Oh man, this movie is just so good. Like it's one of those movies where you watch it and you just kind of sit there stunned, like if there is a flaw, I didn't notice it, you know? Like it's just like the script is solid, the acting is great, the effects are out of this world. Like
True.
It's just such a like all around perfect movie.
One thing
really
I
good.
think is
Agree.
very cool is the whole theming of the movie, because it very much, although the monster is very much not human at all, like when it's shown to be a monster, I think that's part of the thing that helps make it suspenseful, is the fact that you know that thing is being like a whole human being, and it's perfectly mimicking a human being.
Yeah,
Right.
That's pretty. Yeah,
It's clearly
that's what adds
incredibly
a whole bit
intelligent.
of that's what adds
Oh,
a
yeah.
whole bit of
And what-
tension to the whole thing.
And what really adds a lot of tension is the blood scene is very tense, but it kind of seems like the people don't know what to expect from their own blood, and they're scared themselves.
Oh, yeah.
They're
that
like,
they might
am I
themselves
one of
be a
them?
thing.
Like,
Am I
that's
the
terrifying.
thing? 1982.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, and you know what?
Yeah.
I was actually thinking that during where they're testing the blood, and he's about to test Child's blood, and it's almost like Child's like, I don't know what's gonna happen. Maybe I
Yeah.
am. Who?
Yeah.
Very
It's
very
terrifying.
very good.
One funny thing about the movie is that there's a character that they call Mac and a character that they call Windows. That's just funny.
Mac
Years
Windows.
before either of those company existed.
I hadn't thought about that.
You know, Mac and Windows.
Let's
I was
see.
gonna say
Oh,
something,
shoot.
but I completely forgot. Yeah, that blood scene. It's like Your teacher was absolutely right, McKenna, for using that scene as like a subtext sort of like.
Oh yeah.
The way.
To explain that, my professor in this year college used that scene to show subtext, because subtext, is like the themes underneath like the whole dialogue and blah blah blah. But he used that scene because it really shows like the characters of what they're thinking, especially if they're acting. But yeah, go on, Kaden. I just had to explain that to the audience.
Yeah, sorry.
Just
that
make the
was, we talked about
subtext
that
into
before we
text.
recorded,
It'll
so-
be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. But one thing I really like about that scene is how after everyone's blood is tested, you can tell they are like so much more relaxed, and they kind of almost explode a little bit. It's like, all right, there you testing out. Get me out of this damn chair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the relief.
Immediately they're like, the relief that is still like very tense, because like there's still someone in here that is an alien, but it's not
Yeah.
me, and I'm not gonna die. So
No.
Well, especially after he exploded right next to them. They were like,
Yeah, and they're all
Oh my
stuck, and they're like,
gosh.
"Get me out!" Oh,
Yeah.
That
oh
so good.
Terrifying.
yeah.
One thing I think that I kind of really like is when you see someone come upon Mac's shredded clothing, and that
Yes.
as much as you want to trust Mac in that, like throughout the whole movie, you can't even. Like it
Yeah,
draws even to question like the main character of the film.
Oh,
Yeah.
man,
And it's like,
so
should
good,
we trust
too.
him? Should we not?
Yeah.
that's funny. I actually never doubted Kurt Russell. And now I have to think about why I never doubted him, because I don't know why I didn't. And yeah, I'll have to
True.
think about
He's
it.
our
I'll have to think about it.
protagonist.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
Nothing-
it. Maybe it's because he's Kurt
Yeah.
Russell.
Yeah.
One thing I think is underrated about this movie, but honestly,
because he's
I mean,
hot.
people appreciate enough, is the setting, right? The Antarctica isolated base. Something about this, rather than literally any other setting, like, you could try this in, like, a jungle base. You could try this in space. Like, nothing would feel as isolated and as, like, alone as an Antarctica base. Like, even in space, I think, like, something about just this middle of nowhere, all radios are shut off because of Wilford Brimley. Like, something is so isolated about Antarctica.
Side note, I think I really appreciated that. It feels often like in horror films that they have to manufacture, especially nowadays with cell phones, they have to manufacture these reasons that no one can get in touch with anyone. 50 years ago, it was so easy, but now it feels so much harder. But every reason that they couldn't get out made sense in this. Like, it felt very natural, which I appreciated.
Yeah, like, it really is
like all the
just
dogs
such
are
a
dead. They can't dog sled out.
Yeah.
The helicopter
like, it's such
got
a
taken apart.
well-crafted story, Like,
who is it? Blair. Blair knows they're all gonna die before he becomes a thing, presumably, and so he starts destroying everything. In fact, that was what I was gonna mention in that scene where he's going, "You think that thing wants to be a dog? It wants to be us." Which I was like, "Yeah, confirmed by the fact that it's incredibly smart later on when he's absorbing the face of the captain guy.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
just really, really fun, fascinating, evil, not human.
It really,
thing.
It's very
amazing.
Interesting. I think it's very interesting how it uses everything to draw every single character into question. I think because although you didn't personally question McCready, I think every single person in the film is questioned. And you never fully know which one's the thing. Even knowing stuff, you don't even know which one was the thing at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it all is really good. I want to talk about how great of a protagonist McCready is. There's very few horror movies where the protagonist is this iconic in my mind or in the public's mind after, I would say.
Yeah.
And the performance is great. And I could talk about literally every aspect of this movie. I randomly was and the costume
I wrote
design
multiple
is really
comments.
good too.
Kurt Russell never loses his cool. I wrote that 3 times.
Very true.
Because anytime shit goes down, he's like, "This is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. This is what's next. This is what we're doing. Okay, now we have to do this." Yeah, he never loses it. And then I was also laughing when what's his name, Fuchs. How do you say it? The glasses guy.
It is. Fuchs.
Oh yeah.
Fuchs. Okay, he goes, "I got to tell you something," and he's like, "Oh, not right now. It's important, Mac." And then he goes out and talks to him. And at that point, I was like, "Man, this has happened 3 or 4 times. Everybody explicitly trusts Mac with vital information.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because they all, he's incredibly competent, which is obvious, But he's the protagonist. I don't know if that's the reason.
I don't even.
Who knows?
He's not even the leader of their expedition, right? Am I mistaken?
No,
he's
not.
not. And everyone just trusts him because he keeps his cool and is so competent about every step along the way.
That's another thing I think with this film that it does really good, because a lot of horror movies, especially the mystery movies, I feel they always have to even the best of them, even Scream, they have to do a few things where the character does something stupid. And that and that's what leads to them dying. But none of these characters do something that is extremely irrational, or at least in their type of character would be irrational.
Yeah, every character is fleshed out, even if they're there for 2 minutes.
Because even the craziest thing that happens, which I'd say is the one guy bashing the radio stuff. He does that because he doesn't want this to get out. And
he was running a simulation on his computer, right? Yeah, the same guy.
Yeah,
that simulation is so funny.
Oh yeah.
That made me laugh so much.
Simulation is called total % of population to get infected in this many days.
Yeah,
in the 80s too, fully writing out exactly what it wants you to know.
I decided the name of the computer was Expositiontron 3000.
Yep, pretty much, yeah. Oh.
Because he pushes a couple buttons and it's it writes in full sentences for you. It's amazing. And what an incredible computer.
I was I want one of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is just really good.
Well, let me keep going through the synopsis. I'll go through the rest of it fast.
Yeah.
So
the rest of it, yeah.
The dog is sus. Dog is incredibly sus. Now, I wrote that down in my notes.
Okay. That's very funny.
Well, I wrote it down in the scene where he's walking through the hallway. I'm like, all right, this dog is up to something. And I was right. What do you know? At that point, it's hardly a secret. But yeah, so the dog makes his way through a hallway, and you see this silhouette cast behind him of some person. There's how many people is it at the base? It's like 10.
Seven or
I
eight?
forgot. Something like that.
There's
yeah.
there's more than 7 or 8.
8 to
Anyway,
10, I think. 8 to 12.
There's a
or
good
around
chunk of people, and the silhouette could be more than one person. There's quite a few people that the silhouette could be.
Yeah, like
Because I remember
it could
I
even be
paused it and I
McCready
looked at the
for all we
silhouette
know.
and I was like, "Who is that? Who could that be?" And I couldn't decide. And so
Yeah.
the dog clearly gets somebody, though at that point in the movie, I had no idea what that meant.
Yeah.
And then they go out to the outpost, or they go to the Norwegian outpost, and they find the, I don't know, sarcophagus that it was buried in, along with a giant spaceship,
Yeah.
which is super dope. Which I laughed at because the spaceship was just like a giant matte painting.
Yeah.
They have all these incredible practical effects, and then they have like the 3D matte, a green screen matte painting that the actors were.
They're
too
like,
funny.
we have $20 left. We
Yeah.
spent it
Yeah.
all on everything
We don't have
else.
money,
We forgot the
just paint
spaceship.
So they explore the alien spaceship, and I laughed too because at no point is anyone like, "Wow, aliens are real." They all accept it so quickly. It's very,
Yeah.
very funny to
Yeah.
me. So they go back to the base,
yeah.
and no, go ahead. If you ever have comments, stop me and pick up where you
Sorry.
leave off.
I just remembered something that I'm going to bring up after you're done. Sorry.
Got it. So they go back to the base, and I wrote down this movie. This movie moves so fast because like it's slowly paced, but it's not at all. Like there's no fat. They just move from thing to
There's so
thing
much
and
like
show it to you.
tension that it feels like it's going fast. You know?
And you're trying to figure out what's happening. Where you're
Yeah,
like,
well, there's lots of
"Oh,
moments of
I
like
gotta get
people
every
talking,
detail."
analyzing, trying to figure things out. The moments of action are intense, and they don't happen too often, and then they happen.
Yeah.
So there's lots of this like downtime. Not to mention, I was keeping track of like how many days go by because in my notes I labeled each like, okay, so first day, and then they go to the Norwegian base. That's a new day, and then they go back home, and then it's morning again. And so like 4 days have already passed. Like time goes by quickly, but you wouldn't know it because we're just cutting. We're just cutting to the next thing, one after the other after the other. So they finally decide to put the dog in the kennel after everybody's back at Outpost 31. And that's where the dog becomes the Demogorgon and squirts the other dogs with his blood juice thing. And the other dogs, you know, and then the kennel guy who's in charge of the dogs comes back in, and you're like, okay, and later he says he was with it for an hour. And you're like, well, I guess that
If it can
means
happen
you're
that
an
fast,
alien.
yeah.
And so at any rate, the dog is now dead, and you're like, okay, cool. So they got the alien. Except it turns out that they actually brought the body back. I wrote in my notes, where did I put it? It was something like, oh my God, they brought it back? What are they doing? What are they doing?
Yeah. It like, that's like one of the few choices where you're like, what? Like, fair enough, but like,
you have no idea how it works, and you're like, yeah, we'll just put it on a table. Let's look at it later. Put a sheet over it.
yeah, right?
Yeah,
Like,
that's
we
the only
just
thing.
brought this back. Just save it
It's the
for
only
later,
thing that I
you
wrote
know?
down where I said, OMG, they brought it back. Why? And then in parentheses afterwards, but so the movie could happen.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Which, that's the only time I had that thought, though. That was the only time.
Yeah.
And it's not entirely unreasonable either. Like,
No,
what is it? What's his
considering
bucket
they're
points out later
scientists.
with the Nobel and they're scientists.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I agree.
It's just a bit of wanting too much, I guess.
Curiosity killed the cat.
Yeah.
Yep.
The hubris, the greed.
And my arrogance, my hubris.
My hubris. Let's see. I laughed at McCready's hat a few times. He's got that weird like prospector hat.
Yeah. It's
Which
such
is
a
hilarious.
funny hat.
He has the coolest sunglasses and the dumbest hat. It's quite a combination.
Yeah. Yep.
And then
The costumes are all great, especially his,
no, very lived in. All the characters, they seem very
Yes.
They feel like real people. It's great. So they bring back the body. They also bring back the camera footage from the base, and I was laughing because they pop it in and they start watching, and some guy goes, "How much footage is there?" "About 9 hours," and then immediately, "We can't learn anything from this." I was like, well, yeah, you have to watch it first. Like, what?
Yeah, you can't just like learn something from someone and just be like, there's probably something here or not. I don't
Like,
care.
did you
They
try
could
fast
go
forwarding?
into their talking computer,
Yeah.
and the talking computer could just tell them and through the sentences that it can make.
Too funny. So
Yeah.
yeah, and then we come back, and the Bennings, I think, no, not Bennings, Blair, the old guy who's not the doctor. He does his little computer simulation and finds it out, and it tells the audience, okay, the humanity will die if we let this thing get out of Antarctica, basically. And then the suspicions begin. This is where full Among Us mode really takes over.
Yeah. By the way, I just looked it up, and you can buy glasses that look like McCready's online, and I will probably be ordering some of those.
Yeah, they're so cool. They're so cool.
And they're practical too. They got like the little side coverings. They're great.
Well, they're. I think they call them glacier sunglasses because it protects from snow blindness. So yeah. And then we got people pulling Mac to the side. He pulls him out into the crane thing, and they have a little conversation. And that's when I had the moment of like, man, everybody trusts Mac. This is amazing. And then all the hard cuts. The alien just he turns around, and then the alien's like going. No, the blood drips down from the table from underneath the cloth.
Yeah.
And then we just hard cut to the next thing, and I was like, oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So the thing gets Bennings, and then Bennings has his salad fingers, and they blow him up, and everyone's like, all right. And that's about when I stopped taking notes because I couldn't stop watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get so involved.
Yeah, I love movies when they do that. When I'm like, I'm gonna take good detailed notes, and then I just forget because I'm so like on the edge of my seat, like wondering what's gonna happen next,
cool.
and I'm like, oh, forgot about notes.
That happened with
I did
me with
notice
the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Yeah.
I did notice that Blair was the first one to figure it out. Well, obviously from the simulation, he was the first one to figure out we're all gonna die, and he smashes everything. And I was like, very clever character.
Yeah.
Also, that sucks, but good for you, I guess. and then the panic is everyone's at the blood fridge trying to figure it out. They're all yelling at each other. It felt very organic, really good.
Yeah.
Well,
And
just
the
just
paranoia
immediately-
shades or windows
Yeah.
where he grabs the gun, and they're all like, let's all calm down. And then they figure it out, and they put McCready in charge. And just really very much Among Us emergency meeting mode. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, the last note I made was everything is so well lit. As opposed to other horror films where everything's dark. But in this, they've got these government building fluorescent lights. It's just awful.
Which almost makes it more scary because
exactly
everything could happen in broad daylight. And
it's all in.
Not many other horror movies could do that.
Yeah, and it's not 4K, but chroma
right
chroma
there in
color,
front of God and everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what makes it even more horrifying. Is the guy starts bubbling in his chair, and you're like, oh wow, yeah, broad daylight.
Like you can just see all of it too. Yeah.
Yeah,
and
really.
they don't cheap out with any of the wonderful effects. You see all of it. It's really
so
good
back to your question you asked some time ago. Which of the things is my favorite? I would have to say the one that chews on Windows' head.
Oh,
that splits open
the
and
blood test one
chomps down on him.
Yeah, that's really good.
That one, that one is love that one. The rest, they're all good, but
they're all
something
so
about that
good.
one. And the guys in the chairs next to him freaking out.
Yeah.
They can't go anywhere. They're stuck.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh.
I want to bring up the elephant in the film room, which is the 2011 pre-sequel that they made to this movie about the Norwegians. So
never saw.
I think me neither. I've just watched clips of the CGI because the CGI in that one is actually awful. It's bad, which is crazy because it looks worse as a whole than the original did.
Something
it
I actually know. I actually remember seeing clips of this. They actually did make practical effects of all of the monsters in the pre-sequel thing or whatever. But Only thing is that they looked good, but they were going to add a little bit of effects on like afterwards, but for some reason I don't exactly remember why. They decided, nope, let's just completely replace all of our practical effects with digital effects, and it's
huge mistake.
Yeah.
Like that's like embarrassing how bad
Yeah.
it turned out. Like there's a review on Letterboxd for the 2011 thing. Also, the fact that it's just called The Thing, but like just call it something else. Like it makes it so confusing to talk about both of them. But that's whatever. Someone said it's bad
the Thinged, like, because it's a prequel.
The Things.
The
Yeah.
Thinged.
The Thing. Yeah. But like someone said the effects look like a CW superhero show, and they're right.
Yeah.
They do look like
bit,
something
yeah.
from the Flash, and not even like first couple seasons Flash, like bad later seasons Flash.
King
you know?
Shark Flash.
It's King Shark.
something.
When all the berries were running. Have you seen that clip? That's like
Yeah.
the worst CGI I've ever seen.
Something I think is kind of interesting is looking at that film. It definitely adds a whole layer of the debate of practical effects versus CGI effects.
Which I think is barely a debate, because practical almost always, if you put in the care, practical looks better than CGI at least 30%. They're not even like 75% of the time.
I agree most of
Like-
the way, but I do think that some of the times it is either necessary or the people are talented enough that they actually succeed. Like, there are specific things, like some specific CGI characters, specifically Gollum from Lord of the Rings, or Caesar from
every character from
every
the Planet
Planet of the Apes.
yeah.
Those all look amazing, and their CGI is really good. But the thing is that they also have a bit of practical effects with them, with like the character actor and stuff. So
Andy
I think
Serkis. You could just say Andy Serkis.
that's true with Andy Serkis. But I think the best way to do it is coming into the future, because a lot of people are doing only digital effects. I think the best way that people are needing to realize to do it is a mix of both, because they're both essential to filmmaking.
Hold on.
Because like
Didn't we have a
McKenna?
film recent that used practical effects?
I mean, there's a few
That was really
do.
good, and I can't remember.
Well, so
Werewolf by
I
Night?
remember.
Werewolf by Night was all practical.
Oh, yeah,
Almost all
really-
practical.
That's the one I was thinking
I mean,
of.
Yeah, that was really
Was
good.
Werewolf by
So
Night.
I remember this debate occurring as I grew up, essentially, because I feel like, when I was in high
Star Wars.
school, we were getting all these cool like CGI stuff, and like the prequels were pretty good, but everyone was like, George, you need to lay off the green screen. But like they were still
and then Matrix
acceptable.
probably added to that.
Yeah.
And the Matrix had a lot of
'Cause
cool effects, but was still really good in a lot of ways, but also some ways not. And then there were, I remember when J.J. Abrams took over The Force Awakens, but we didn't know that's what it was called at the time. Or maybe we did by that point. But then they started showing all the, the practical effects they were going to use. And everyone was like, yes, back to practical effects. At least it felt that way. I feel like there was this pendulum swinging where it kind of goes back and forth and back and forth. But, as is usually the case, it turns out, a mix is almost always the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think honestly, in the current way that a lot of movies are, I'm just tired of all of the CGI. Like, Marvel movies could just like be nominated for best animated feature with how much CGI goes into them. Like most heroes now in the Marvel movies don't even wear costumes. Like people just show up in the green screen suit and they just like put the suit on them and just make the movie happen around them, and it's just like it's not as good to me, at least. Some things should be practical, and a lot of movies now just don't. And the mix is good. All practical is good, but all CGI just feels lazy.
Filming in space should be practical. Put those
I
actors and
agree.
actresses up
Gravity-
in space.
Gravity should have been done practically. We should have flung them into space forever, I think.
I mean, Tom Cruise did it, so why can't everybody?
Yeah, Tom Cruise does his own stunts. Let's throw him into space.
I mean, classic example of mixed effects is Jurassic Park, the first one.
Of
True,
course.
yeah.
And like it's there's tons of these movies that are just really good at mixing, and nowadays often the really good movies you don't even know that they have special effects. Like I remember watching Wolf on Wall Street, and there's quite a bit
Oh yeah.
in terms of practice
Yeah, really?
CGI that they use, and you just don't know because it's all really
I never
like
would've guessed.
real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's not
I
like
never would have guessed.
yeah, there's a ton of it, but you don't know it because it's all like helicopter shots and the compositing and whatnot.
I think it especially is a major debate in horror movies, just because there's so much
The fantastic element.
depth. Yeah, exactly. And there's so much stuff about horror movies that you can't fully do in real life, even with like the best of practical effects. But then people do create other ways to show some different types of practical effects, and it's really interesting to see how they do that and stuff. And it's a really interesting debate, honestly.
Yeah. It could really go on forever, because like Star Wars is really like, I think, almost like a good baseline for should we go all practical, all CGI, or a mix, because Star Wars has had all three. Like
Yeah.
I think each trilogy pretty much has one of those. And honestly, I'm a prequel supporter because I grew up like right after the prequel, so you know it was more acceptable to like them by then.
You got the memes.
But yeah, we got the memes and Clone Wars, which
True.
made it cool to like the prequels. And honestly, I think a lot of the CGI is not so great, and I think there should have been a lot more practical in those movies. It would have made it feel more like Star Wars.
They
you know?
should have made an actual cyborg.
Yes, they should have made General Grievous real. Or use puppets, man.
Puppets
are
good.
great.
Like
Yeah.
like what they did with Doc Ock's arms. So cool.
Yeah,
in the
Doc.
in the second
Yeah, that's
Spider-Man.
another
Very
really
true.
good comparison. Is how much better Doc Ock's arms in Spider-Man 2
Though
feel
the thing
as
is,
opposed to Spider-Man No Way
yeah,
Home.
the one
Like,
thing is that even so, that is a mix of practical and visual effects, rather than
Yeah.
just most people would be like, oh, see, just practical is better. But you have to be able to do like the puppets, like you have to be able to green screen out like all of the stuff that that shows them, that hides them
Yeah.
from being puppets, basically.
Yeah, I mean that's true, but it just when the arms were puppeted by real people, they felt more
Slow-mo,
like the
Harry
AI
and
that they kind
Larry
of were supposed to be.
were the puppet
Yep.
arm names.
That's true.
There you go.
I'm glad you also know that fact, McKenna.
I'm obsessed with that
But yeah.
movie.
Yeah, it's your favorite movie of all time, right?
It is. McGregor,
Yeah.
were you done talking about your synopsis, or did you want
I
to
mean, I
finish
can
it
try
off?
and keep
Oh, yeah.
going. The ending
Yeah,
of the
we've-
film is
we've kinda-
kind of a blur because it all once it takes
Yeah,
off, it
fair.
really
It
takes off.
happens, yeah.
It
But,
all just
okay.
it all just like collapses on itself in the best of ways.
And then
Yeah.
blows up in your face quite
And
literally.
literally collapse. Yeah, exactly. So at some point, McCready heads out with some people into the thing because they have to go get something, and it makes sense why they need to do it. And then one of them finds out that McCready's clothes are ripped, and he finds them. And you find out from earlier that this is good evidence that the thing has gotten you if your clothes are gone.
Yeah.
So they suspect him, and then he shows up at the door, and they let him in, except he's threatening them all to kill everyone, and rightfully so, because he still knows he's human. He never doubts it, apparently, unlike everybody else in the subtext.
Yeah.
So then they all get together, they do the blood test scene in all of its horror and amazingness. And then at that point, after the blood test is over, your blood test scene is over, you're like, okay, they got everybody. They're all not the thing now. Except
But you forget the
for
doctor.
Blair. Yeah, Blair is
Yep.
out in the shed. So they go
Yep.
out to the shed,
Yeah.
and he's not out there. He's not out there. And I think at the time I was like, wait, so he was the thing all along? But now what I'm realizing is no, of course not. When he was destroying all the equipment, he was not the thing. It must have
Yeah.
gotten him at some point when he was out in the shed alone,
Uh-huh.
And that's
Yeah.
that's one of the things that's so fun about the film is it, I mean, I've told you guys before, I love films that don't hold your hand, that let you figure it out. And this one,
Exactly.
Yeah.
not only does it not hold your hand and let you figure it out, it says, no, you just can't figure it out. You can try.
Oh yeah.
And you can have all sorts of
can-
theories.
You'll never know exactly when and who and what and where, like
Yeah.
it's a complete mystery.
I mean, maybe if I watched it a few more times, I could have ideas. But it sounded like, based off what you said, Kaden,
Yeah.
that to this day, people still can't nail down exactly
yeah.
every detail.
No one knows,
Like-
not a single person, not even, I mean, the director does know, of course, but he won't tell a single person who the first, like,
who the
guy,
first victim
the victim
is, yeah.
was.
And good.
Fair enough.
He shouldn't.
Because we really should never exactly find out who that is. 'Cause
I mean, if it
just
does
makes
happen,
the movie
like,
feel more
Whatever. But yeah, the
there's-
movie's
yeah.
better
There-
for us not knowing. It's part of the enjoyment of it.
Yeah, there's
Now I'm
rumors
convinced.
that there's like a script written for a sequel to this. Like, there's like a possible sequel that could happen down the line. But I really,
What?
I think it was a video
want that.
We have
game
the
in
video
2001.
game.
there,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's the video game, but I think there's a movie. Also, John Carpenter did announce this year that he like wants to come back to making movies, so he'll be back
Really?
soon. That's nice. Yeah.
Is it-
He'll be
Very
making
excited.
that whatever video game.
Dead
Oh,
Space.
Dead Space yeah, movie.
Oh man, I
said-
would give anything for him to make a
He
Dead
said
Space
in
movie. That'd be
a
so cool.
in an interview, someone asked him, "What video game adaptation would you like to make into a movie?" And he said Dead Space, which is kind of
Should have said Resident Evil. Should have said Resident Evil.
We've had so many Resident Evils, I give up. Which would be cool because kind
Yeah.
of has like the same vibes as the thing. I guess.
But yeah, is there
Well,
so we're
I'll
at
finish
a
the
little over an
synopsis.
hour. Oh yeah, synopsis. Right, we're still going.
We're
My bad.
basically done at this point. So
I keep getting off track with where we are. Sorry.
No, that's
Jeez,
all good.
Kaden.
So they go out to the shed. Blair's gone, and so they're like, okay, clearly he's an alien, and he's got a trapdoor underneath his little hut that he lives in, his little thing, and he's been digging. It seems, or well, probably many of them have been digging. They've all been working together.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that I was like, man, do we ever see the thing interact with another version of itself? And we never see it, but clearly it must happen at some point.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things I had in the back of my head of like, okay, they must all be on the same team, right? What kind of organism is this? Do they share their knowledge of?
Is it a hive
Like
mind?
a hive mind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't know. It's an interesting thought. Anyway, they go down into
So
this
like when
dugout
yeah,
basement.
when one gets injured, do all the others? It's really interesting.
And the movie it never says. It's very fun.
No.
They go down to the basement that has been dug out, and it's building a spaceship, which is amazing, out of helicopter parts.
Yeah.
And they get to this, and they're like, okay, we got to blow everything up. This thing is far beyond what we expected it to be in terms of smartness, I guess, in terms of what it's willing to do to survive.
Yeah.
So they decide to blow everything up, and they all get together and head down to the generator area, or is it the generator area, or are they just rigging up the underneath parts? Because it's all underground that they're
I
trying to
think
make
so.
explode.
I think it is the generator area.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is the generator area.
Yeah.
So, which makes sense because it's a huge explosion. So they rig it all up, and one by one, it starts picking them off, and we get the cool little musical cue when Blair suddenly shows up and face grabs,
And then I hate
Yeah.
that part too.
yeah,
I hate
really
the,
cool.
the fingers
He's
under
like-
the skin.
Yeah, he's
Uh-huh.
like
I hate it.
underneath his
this-
mouth skin.
Yeah, loved that. And then we get the final monster, which is just giant tentacles in stop motion, which worked pretty well, actually. You very rarely see stop motion that you're like, wait, was that stop motion? Most of the time, it's really obvious.
Yeah.
And that one, I was like, well,
Very
okay,
true.
yeah, it was, but it took me a second to realize it. And then the floor explodes, and the final one pops up out of the ground. And at that point, I was like, okay, Mr. Thing, what's your end game here? Why would you just like have a cactus yourself pop up out of the ground and hold still? That was another moment where
Yeah,
I was
that's
like,
a good point. Yeah.
what are you trying to do? What's happening?
Yeah.
here?
Are you trying to like to control all of humanity, or are you just like trying to mess with these guys in Antarctica?
Well, yeah, because
You
then
know,
Kurt
like-
Russell starts running away, and it just kind of has the little dog creature pop out, which is horrifying, mind you, like totally.
Oh,
Yeah. Awful.
Oh yeah.
But my question in the back of my head was, okay, but why though? But why wouldn't you
Yeah.
chase after him or something? I don't know.
That's fair.
But either way,
Yeah.
things explode in an almighty explosion. McCready somehow survives the explosion, goes outside, and it turns out that Childs also survived, but they lost contact with each other. So what happened?
Yeah.
Is child an
Yeah.
alien? Is child a thing? Is, and we don't know. Ending super vague.
And then
Yeah.
movie,
Like we talked about earlier.
Movie cut to black. Cut to black.
And then
Yeah.
they just kind of look at each other
Yeah.
and they accept their fates. Oh,
Yep.
beautiful.
That is such a good ending. Yeah.
It's so
Which I do like that kind of as the overall theme of just generally of okay, human beings, when they find out that they are going to die no matter what, and there's nothing they can do about it. They have no control over their fate, except for what to do with the time that they have left. What do they do, and what does it tell you about their character?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And I really
a really good way
enjoyed
to
watching
look, yeah.
all the different characters, how they come to terms with, okay, we're going to die. What are we going to do with what we have left? And, this kind of noble,
Yeah.
these ambitions they have of, well, we have to make sure that the rest of humanity doesn't die.
Yeah.
And they go out with a blaze of glory, and it's really cool.
such a good explosion at the end. By the
It's
way,
really good.
Like-
Yeah.
It is.
that's some like Christopher Nolan movie level explosion.
Hmm.
Like big, giant, very real explosion.
Which, if I were to make
It is real, I think.
probably, yeah. If I were to make a theory of like, okay, is Childs the thing at the end or not? I would probably say not. Because the two of them, the way that they kind of talk to each other seems very human to me, in the sense of both of them know that, they're going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like,
you
at that point, the jig
imagine-
is up. Like, why
Uh-huh.
wouldn't it just eat him right away? I don't know.
Exactly. You would imagine that they would just attack each other if one of them
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
actually the
Right.
alien.
But the
But
thing
then
is,
they
you don't
just
know.
both die.
I think, and that's what's so cool.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, they
Maybe-
didn't feel the need to actually tell us, and that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
It's like
maybe
if
the thing's
at the end of
waiting
Jaws.
because
Yeah, because
Uh-huh.
it knows if it freezes. Because I think that's the reason why it wouldn't give up the jig, is because it knows that if it survives and if it freezes, then it can live on once people.
Oh, that's true.
find them.
If it knows it has other
well,
bits.
well, also because like people will most likely come for the base anyways. Like, and if there is actually a human there with them, it could make it easier for it to go to the mainland.
That's fair
True.
point.
Yeah.
Fair point.
A lot of different ways it could go.
What a fun film. I can't believe I've never seen it before.
It's so
Yeah.
good. It's so
Yeah,
weird
I'm
because
glad you
like
watched it, yeah.
all of the like very critically good films of horror movies, like obviously there's the classics, but they're not like the most critically well made. But this one is extremely well made, and it doesn't like there are other critically well made films like The Lighthouse or Hereditary. Lots of people they're not the most fun, which is I mean they're really good, but they're not like very fun. But this one is fun and it's really well made.
Yeah.
And it's scary.
I think there is a
Yeah,
barrier to
that's-
entry on this one, though, in the sense that, like, for instance,
For sure.
I watched There Will Be Blood with my girlfriend, and we talked about it afterwards. And I told her that I was going to watch this for the podcast, and I told her, like, it's a terrible body horror film. And I showed her
Yeah.
a screenshot of one of the things, but it was from like a distance, like she barely even saw it.
Oh yeah.
And even out of the corner of her eye, seeing the little head spider on the floor, she was like, nope,
Just
nope,
like-
I will not do it. I'll have, nightmares for weeks if I watch
I
this movie.
don't.
And I was like, fair
I
enough.
do not blame her. I do not blame
Yeah.
her.
And that must be
That's
true
fair.
for a lot of
Yeah.
people. I think that is a pretty big barrier to entry for people where they
That's
go,
true.
man, I've heard that
Yeah.
movie is just like squick horror, for me at least. And, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not
Whereas,
cheap.
yeah.
Like, it's not cheap
Yeah.
horror. It's
No.
solid.
Yeah.
Whereas your classic films, yeah, they're going to have horror elements and maybe even a little bit of gore, but nothing to the body horror
Yeah.
level of this film, as far as I
Oh, for
No,
sure.
No.
Yeah.
can think of.
Yeah. Like this also just like the creature design sticks with you,
Truly.
Like a lot of movies will do the sort of like big like human-esque monster type of thing, but the design of it won't really like stick in your head. This though, like
Oh, for sure.
this is iconic. monster
Everyone
design. I always
knows.
like to
Everyone knows the head spider thing.
exactly like there's a couple things that I think have really iconic designs, like this, Alien, Predator, and Stranger Things. Honestly, I
Mhm.
mean, some of their recent like Vecna, I wouldn't say was very iconic to me, but Demogorgon is like one of the best designed horror creatures ever. But like, it's very hard to make a horror creature that sticks with you as much as something like The Thing does.
I agree with that.
True.
Yeah, solid film.
Yeah. So we are at about an hour and a half now. So
Woo!
Whoops.
I think we're gonna wrap it up here. Yeah. So does anyone have anything they want to say before I announce what next week's movie is and we start wrapping her up?
Yeah, I just wanted
Thank
to
you
say
for joining
that
us.
you should turn that down because I'm trying to sleep here. I've been shot today. I think that's my favorite line from the film, where he's
Yeah.
That's a
Drive
good
out
line.
there to
That's a
sleep.
very
Good
good line.
I've been shot today. Too good.
Yeah.
We can't learn anything from this. Yeah, there's a couple lines that just stuck out to me so
Yeah,
much. Those were
There's
two
a
of them.
few, yeah.
There's some good stuff. Yeah.
Uh,
All right. So, thank you again, McGregor, for coming on our
Yes.
podcast again.
Yes, thank you so
Um,
much.
Yeah.
This has been so fun.
You're definitely, I would say you're our favorite guest, but that kind of goes without saying. You're
yeah,
our
I'm also your
onlyest
least favorite guest.
so far. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll definitely have to have you again on the future because you're very good at film discussion. It's almost like you
True.
teach. It's almost like you teach film or something.
Something.
But,
like
yeah. So next week's movie, I decided to pick a very slow brain thinky type of horror movie, and we're going to
what
be
is
talking about Candyman.
Yay.
Original.
Candyman.
So
that.
yeah.
I don't know
I've
anything
never
about
seen
that
that
one.
one.
Todd. So it's very good. It's on Peacock, so go watch it there if you have that, or pirate it.
Rent it.
anyways.
He rent it. He said.
I definitely didn't say rent it, but whatever. Anyways, so remember to subscribe if you're on YouTube, to rate us 5 stars or whatever star rating you feel on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And if you're on YouTube, leave a comment, give us some feedback. Follow us on Twitter to give us feedback, and Instagram. We really just want to hear more from you guys, the audience. Also, I wanted to give a shout out. I can see about where we have listeners, sort of a general area. I wanted to give a special shout out to our 4 listeners in Ohio. Shout out to you guys.
Wow.
Thanks for existing and being in Ohio.
Yeah.
Are you guys okay? Do you need help? Do you need us to send somebody? Do you need to get out of Ohio? Are you okay?
I mean, you know why they're listening
Anyways.
to our podcast? It's because that's the only thing you can do in Ohio. Is there's nothing else to do.
Yeah, you definitely. Yeah, there's
only
no
thing.
food or drinks in Ohio. Yeah.
They have to sit down and
anyways.
listen to it daily.
Yeah. Anyways, thank you everyone for listening, and don't forget to be excellent to each other and party on, dudes.
Among Us.